So, today's topic is something that affects us all, climate change. It's hard to ignore considering the crazy weather patterns we've been seeing lately. But why do you think it's still so hard to take action on it?
Yeah, it's strange, right? You'd think with all the data and evidence we have, people would be more motivated to make real changes. But a big part of it, I think, is how climate change is framed. It's often presented as this distant, future issue when in reality, it's already happening now.
That's true. The effects are definitely being felt already. Wildfires, flooding, even droughts. But it seems like the urgency isn't quite there for some people. Maybe it's because the consequences aren't always visible in day-to-day life?
Exactly. It feels abstract for many until it directly impacts their lives. But even then, the response is often reactive, not proactive. For instance, we only see people truly panic when there's a massive heat wave or a hurricane. We need to shift that mindset to thinking about the bigger picture.
Definitely. And speaking of solutions, a lot of people argue that individuals can only do so much. It feels like governments and corporations are the real drivers of change. Do you agree with that?
I do, in part. The scale of action needed really requires large systemic changes, policy reforms, corporate responsibility, and, of course, a shift in how we generate and consume energy. But at the same time, individual actions matter. If enough people demand change, it could drive larger political shifts.
That's a good point. It's like voting with your wallet, supporting companies with sustainable practices. But do you think we have enough time left for those changes to make a difference?
That's the big question, isn't it? Some say we're already past the tipping point. Others argue we still have time to reverse some of the damage, but we have to act fast. What worries me is the lack of global cooperation. Climate change is a collective problem, but not all countries are equally invested in solving it.
Global cooperation is definitely key, especially when you think about how interconnected the world is. If one region doesn't take action, it affects everyone. But then there's the challenge of balancing economic growth with sustainability. Some countries are still developing and need to industrialize.
It's a delicate balance. But, looking at renewable energy, there are solutions that can meet both needs. Solar, wind, and hydropower are cheaper than ever and could provide power to developing nations without the same environmental cost.
That's hopeful. There's definitely potential for change, but it's going to take a lot of work, and quick. On a personal level, what's one small change you've made that feels impactful?
For me, it's switching to a more plant-based diet. I know it's not a perfect solution, but cutting down on meat and dairy helps reduce my carbon footprint. Plus, I feel better physically too.
That's awesome. I've been trying to reduce plastic use, especially with things like single-use bottles. I think even small steps like these make a difference when multiplied by millions of people.
Exactly. It's the cumulative effect that matters. If everyone does their part, it can add up to something big. We just have to keep pushing for change.
Well said. I think the bottom line is that climate change is real, it's here, and we need to act now, on both a personal and systemic level. The next few years are critical.
Agreed. Hopefully, this sparks more conversations and, more importantly, actions. We've got to keep the pressure on.
For sure. So, to wrap up, what do you think is the most crucial step we should all take right now?
Honestly, it's raising awareness and demanding accountability from leaders. And continuing to make sustainable choices in our own lives. Every little bit counts.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode. Let's keep the conversation going and hopefully inspire some action. Thanks for tuning in.